There are two things that I really like, Gundam and Ultra Kill. What if we put them together and made this? Now, if you do want to use this video as a tutorial on how to make your own, these are the models that I used. I used the feet from this model. Just looking for more pieces for the rest of the body. I will use these later for the kneecaps. These pieces are what will be used to make up the lower legs for the calves. Here you can see I'm just trying out to see what the build will look like when I attach the kneecaps to the lower legs. Here I just decided it was getting too difficult to look for the pieces in that small box, so I decided to just dump it all out and spread it across the table so I could find the pieces better. And now I'm just looking for the thighs. This piece I was going to use for the torso, but I eventually just scrapped it and used an actual torso from that Knight Gundam that I used for the feet. And I also used the arms from that, so that it would be fully posable and fully movable instead of halfway movable, which I originally had before. When I used this, I glued the arms in place, and you'll see near the end that I just changed it out for fully posable arms instead, so I could get more cool action poses for when I'm putting it on my shelf. Here I am making the hips from, actually, I lied when I was talking about the kits that you would need. Some of them I actually have two of the same kit. So that's in this part here I used two torso pieces of the same kit, but back to back to make the, I don't know the hip area. I don't know why that took me so long to think of, but that's actually why I have multiple of the same pieces to make this build, because I have multiple kits that I used. So if you're gonna make this and using this as a tutorial, that's something you'll have to think about, is that you're gonna have to buy 2 kits to fully make this. Or you could use your own way and just use the kits that you have and kind of improvise. Here are all the pieces that I picked out that I'm going to use for the model, but as I said earlier, the chest pieces are going to be replaced and the arms, so just don't follow that step if you're going to be making this. Now what I'm doing here is, if you actually build this model, there is a tiny hinge piece that you clip a clip onto. I'm just cutting out the hinge part, the like rod that goes in between the 2 pieces, so that I can slip it onto the foot, which I'm going to drill a hole in, so that it kind of snaps together and is fully articulated, so I don't glue it in place. Never mind. I dumped all the pieces back out again on the table because I had to find one thing. And it took me about like 13 minutes to find this piece. And here it is. The knee joint. This is the clip that I was talking about earlier that was intended for the leg piece. And you may actually see that I put it on back, the legs on backwards. So I just simply turned it around and fixed it like that. And then I'm going to take the upper leg and the kneecaps and glue the joint on top of the legs so that they're able to be bendable. This is the first version of the torso that I made. It's an upside down goof Gundam kit. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's called MS07BGOUF. And that's the Gundam kit that I use. It's just the torso but upside down. here's where I was cutting the hinge off for the leg. It's really funny because I actually messed up and made them both the same side.
I cut the wrong part.
Here you can see it is fully posable, which is one of my first models that actually can do that. I made another model over our winter break, but it sadly broke and like the arm fell off, so I'll probably do a video where I fix up all of my broken models and maybe do a video where I paint some unpainted models, because currently I have an entire closet's worth of unpainted, unfinished models. Here's the finished model of the first version, but I originally made, but I eventually scrapped it, as you'll see in a minute. I ended up actually changing the torso because you see the chest piece on there. It's very, very similar to this model's, and also it has the articulated arms, which I liked, and I wanted this to be fully articulated, so I just ripped the top part off and changed his head. Here I was about starting to get pretty worried because as I was painting this, I had to be really careful about the side parts, and I just kept painting over it and getting really frustrated, as you can see here. So I was thinking that it wasn't going to turn out as good as I thought, but in a couple minutes, if you just stick around and see, it actually turns out really nice. As you may see, I don't actually have small enough brushes to get in the small parts, so I have to use toothpicks to paint some of it, which is actually kind of useful because I've gotten pretty good at painting with the toothpicks instead of just using a smaller brush. So now whenever I try to use the smaller brush, it just is not as good. Playing a Star Wars skirmish game with my friend recently, and I used this technique to paint the miniature, but I'm not saying I'm the best at painting, but for my level of skills, I'd say I did a pretty good job. But it still looks pretty messy in some places. For reference, these miniatures are 48th millimeter scale, and again, I am painting with a toothpick, so it is pretty difficult to get in all the tiny nooks and crannies, but for a toothpick and a 3D printed model, I'd say it's pretty good. I think this model turned out pretty good. The paint job was a bit, not as how I liked it to be, because the model was, I didn't end up sanding it, which I should probably do in the future, which left the plastic to be very, smooth and not able to hold the paint very well. So it took a couple coats and it made the paint end up looking very thick and splotchy, which is not the result that I wanted, but I did some edge highlighting and it kind of distracts you from that, so that kind of made it a bit better, especially on the chest, which is very smooth compared to the legs or something.